Good afternoon to you. Well, this rather changeable weather pattern shows no sign of letting up in the coming days. This afternoon, we have showers continuing to push southwards, quite frequent and heavy at times through central and southern areas. I think the best of the breaks in the cloud will be across the north mainland. Temperature-wise, on the chilly side around northern coasts and across the Northern Isles, with a fresh northwesterly wind, a little higher through central and southern areas. This evening, many of the showers fade, but some outbreaks of rain moving into the southwest for a time. During the early hours, though, again, it'll be mostly dry with clear skies and a very chilly night for the time of year for sheltered rural parts of the north and northeast, lows of 2 or 3 Celsius. Tomorrow, we have low pressure to the west, frontal systems moving in, but ahead of that, we do have a ridge of high pressure. So for many, it's a dry day, a sunny day on the cards, just a scattering of showers through central and southern areas, and temperatures on the rise around 17 to 20 Celsius for most, a touch cooler in the Northern Isles, 14 or 15 Celsius here. Tomorrow evening and night, that frontal system continues to push in, bringing some outbreaks of rain to most parts, but muggier air moving in. On Thursday, it's a rather cloudy day. The frontal system's very gradually pushing northeastwards. Some sunshine for Shetland and the far south, and staying muggy.
Hello. It's been a day of clouds and showers and relatively cool, certainly compared to the Mediterranean, where yesterday in some spots we had extreme temperatures. This was the highest, 48.2 degrees Celsius in Sardinia, hottest day of the year so far in Europe. But those extreme temperatures are coming to an end, at least for now, as this jet stream dives southwards across the Mediterranean by Wednesday, and it pushes the heat back into the Sahara, and the temperatures will take a tumble. So in fact, in Palermo on Monday, where it was 47 degrees Celsius, we'll look at that on Wednesday, we're closer to the climatic norm of around 30 degrees or so. Now the forecast for us though, that same jet stream is going to bring changeable weather over the coming days. In fact, tomorrow we are expecting a bright start and then rain later on. Through the night, ahead of the weather front, there are some clear skies around, but also early in the morning there could be some showers across parts of northern England. The early morning temperatures will range from around 7 degrees in Aberdeen to 11 or 12 in some of the bigger city centres. So that low pressure pushed by that jet stream that I showed you earlier on, remember it takes a dive into Europe, but here the jet stream is actually pointing right at us. It's pushing the weather front towards us. Clouds are thickening in the morning across Ireland. The outbreaks of rain are moving in, and I think by around lunchtime the thicker cloud and possibly the outbreaks of rain will be nudging in to some of these western parts of the UK, whereas further east it should be dry and bright, and actually a decent day in Norwich, in Newcastle and also in Aberdeen. But later on in the evening, so this is Wednesday evening now and into the early hours of Thursday, that weather front will cross all parts and there will be rain. So most of us will catch some rain over the next 24 to 36 hours. Here's Thursday's weather forecast then. Once that weather front moves across into the North Sea, it leaves a legacy of thicker cloud. It's also going to be quite humid there. Temperatures will be around 20 degrees in Glasgow and about 22 or 3 in the south, and there'll be sunny spells and also a few showers. So on to the outlook into the weekend. Very little change overall, that is broadly speaking, changeable with frequent showers. Bye-bye. Hello, thanks for joining me. On Monday, parts of the Mediterranean experienced some of the highest temperatures ever recorded on the European continent. For example, in Sicily, a record was set in Palermo, 47 degrees Celsius, that's the air temperature above ground, and also in Corsica, 48 28.2 degrees Celsius. So incredibly hot air. But over the next couple of days, we'll see less hot air spreading across the region. You just get a sense of the wind blowing out of the west-northwest across this part of the world. So take a look at Wednesday. We're down to 28 degrees Celsius, so no longer is that very hot air streaming out of the African continent. And indeed, across Siberia, also temperatures are relatively typical for the time of the year. And in the next few days, across other parts of Europe, it remains also unsettled below the average for the time of the year, with weather systems sweeping off the Atlantic and bringing outbreaks of rain. So towards the end of the week, quite unsettled across northwestern Europe. It remains very warm in the Mediterranean, but not as hot. Let's have a look at some of the city forecasts. Here's Paris, unsettled conditions through the rest of the week and possibly into the weekend as well. But I think by Sunday, Monday, the weather should turn more sunny. Elsewhere across Europe, some very hot weather currently in Athens, and it's going to stay on the hot side in the coming days as well. Bye-bye. Hello, thanks for joining me. Let's see what's happening on the weather front across the African continent. And the satellite picture shows the storms in the tropics here, plenty of them around western parts of tropical Africa. But the story's also been in the north of the continent, around Algeria, Tunisia, Libya. Heat concentrated across this part of the world. Extreme heat, in fact, temperatures approaching 49 degrees Celsius. It'll remain very hot in places like Tripoli through Wednesday, 40 degrees Celsius, but the air will be slowly drifting in off the Mediterranean in the next couple of days. So I think the values may reduce to 34 by Thursday, but it does look as though the heat will be once again on as we head through Saturday and Sunday, so back into the low or maybe even the mid 40s. Now elsewhere across the continent, Casablanca, temperatures more comfortable here, at least closer to the coast, around the mid-20s with lots of sunshine. Now across the Middle East, of course, a lot of hot and sunny weather in many areas. Temperatures are in the mid, even the high 40s in some spots. Here's the forecast for Wednesday. 40 Celsius expected in Damascus, 46 in Baghdad, and the top end of the Persian Gulf there in the high 40s. A little bit more cloud along the south coasts of the Arabian Peninsula, and as a result also fresher with that wind off the sea. 27 in Salalah. That's it from me. Bye-bye. Hello. We've a large area of low pressure in the Bay of Bengal at the moment, just off West Bengal and Odisha. Here it is on the satellite picture, the centre of the low here, and extensive storm clouds associated with this weather system. We are going to see a lot of rainfall across this part of India in the coming days. I think over a few days it could be a few hundred millimetres of rain, and within a short space of time certainly enough rain to cause flash flooding. So this low is going to hang around across this part of the subcontinent for a while. But the chance of it intensifying, that is the chance of the wind strengthening, for example, well, that probability is relatively low. It is quite close to land. I think the main problem will be the very heavy rain associated with that low pressure. A lot of hot weather around across central parts of Asia, in excess of 40 degrees Celsius for many of the major centres there. Here's that wind, the white arrows indicating the monsoonal wind across this part of the world. The lighter oranges here is where we have also a lot of cloud and that slightly less hot air, and then all of that moisture and the low pressure spiralling around across this part of the subcontinent. Here are some city forecasts. In Mumbai, showers and thunderstorms with temperatures just below 30 degrees Celsius. Dhaka, storms on the cards with temperatures in the low 30s. And New Delhi, also I think a good chance of catching some heavy downpours. That's it from me. Thanks for watching. Hello, thanks for joining me. Let's get a check on the weather across Australia and New Zealand. A large area of high pressure there from Melbourne to Sydney and Brisbane, keeping things settled. Adelaide too. Fine weather across the Bight, but a totally different story in western parts of Australia. A low to the south of Perth, keeping things very unsettled here and only around 15 degrees Celsius. The other side of the Tasman, the weather's quite unsettled and changeable too in New Zealand, particularly in the south. This weather front's approaching, stronger winds, outbreaks of rain, and then we've got this low out towards the east as well. But in Sydney, if you're here, the weather is looking stable for the next few days into next week. Temperatures will be in the low 20s. Now over towards this typhoon here, it's called Doksuri. It is moving to the north of the Philippines. It will give it a good blow with very strong winds and torrential rain there in northern parts of Luzon. It'll probably just skirt Taiwan as well, but there is still a potential for it striking the island, and then eventually it will head towards the coast of China. It does look as though the storm may lose some of its intensity as it approaches China, and at the moment it is indeed very powerful. Let's have a look at the cities around the region then. So Manila, quite stormy conditions here for the next few days. The same goes for Taipei, and in Hong Kong also thunderstorms. Hello, thanks for joining me. Let's see what's happening on the weather fronts across North America. And here's the satellite picture with the jet stream. This large ridge here has allowed all of that heat to spread right across the states and into many parts of central Canada. It will remain hot, and of course it has been the story of the summer so far, so little change on the weather front there. But we're also talking about severe storms moving from the northern plains into the Great Lakes region. But let's take a closer look at the Pacific side of the continent here, and we've lots of showers across parts of British Columbia, but south of that you can see a lot of clear weather and a scattering of showers there around the Rockies and the plains a little bit further towards the east. Here's a selection of city forecasts. Phoenix really stands out like a sore thumb. Look at that, 118 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 48 degrees Celsius, so the extreme heat continues across this part of the world. Meanwhile, on the eastern seaboard on Wednesday, the weather's not looking bad at all, with a lot of sunshine right along the coast, but here we have those storms affecting the Midwest, and also some storms breaking out across parts of Florida. And one thing worthy of note is the water temperature around Florida at the moment. It's breaking records, really very warm, especially off the Everglades in the south. And the city temperatures with the forecast here over the next couple of days. That's it for me. Thanks for watching. Hello, thanks for joining me. Let's see what's happening on the weather front across South and Central America. Here's the big picture for midweek across the South American continent. Weather front here with some storms moving northwards behind it. We've got colder air coming in from the southern climes, and then ahead of it, very warm indeed, 28 in Rio. But if we look at the tropics around the Amazon, the rainfall belt is displaced way to the north. So actually, normally we see a lot of heavy downpours here, but notice that most of the rainstorms are across Venezuela and closer to the North Atlantic, and then to the south of that there's a lot of dry, clear weather. Here's a closer look across southern parts of the continent. In Argentina, a lot of sunshine around, particularly towards the east, more cloud here around Chile and the Andes. And the city forecasts for the next few days, Rio will eventually cool off, so it is quite warm, very warm in fact, through the middle to end of the week, but then into next week there's some cloud and rain on the way, and those temperatures will drop by, say, around 5 or 6 degrees. Now, central parts of America, lots of heavy showers in Mexico, particularly towards the west and the south, plenty of them across the Yucatan, and notice storms also developing around Cuba into Hispaniola and very close to Puerto Rico as well. And these storms being pushed by those trade winds across the Caribbean. And some city forecasts here. You can see Havana's looking quite stormy there, and 33 degrees in the coming days. Bye-bye.